that mistake. Grover Norquist joins us now from Washington at the site of this week's Yale CEO caucus. And I said today we're going to try and get you to say what you really mean, Grover. That is harsh, isn't it? Huh?
No, look, the modern Republican Party has explained itself and said we're the party that won't raise your taxes. When we come to a problem, we're going to reform government, not raise taxes to paper over problems in the past. We're going to reform government, like the Ryan budget plan and other entitlement reform. And of the other candidates, 95% of incumbent Republicans in the House and Senate, have made that commitment to the American people. And Jeb Bush has said he'll raise taxes on the American people if he feels like it, which is an odd way to run for president.
That's not exactly what he's saying. That's not exactly fair.
Word.
He's not saying that I'll raise it if I feel like it. I think what most people who refuse to sign this say, I'm not going to box myself into a corner, make promises when I don't know what the future will bring, and I will make sure that I govern from what I see and what I think is best given the circumstances of the day.
Well, after 6 years of hope and change, and trust me, the American people have come to elect and re-elect a Republican House and Senate where the leadership and the entire membership have made a commitment. They're not raising taxes. So the next Republican president isn't going to have an opportunity to raise taxes. The Republican House and Senate would never send him one. We just had a big standoff with Obama, who wanted as much as $2.5 trillion in higher taxes. Certainly, initial bid was $1.4 trillion in higher taxes. The Republicans had all signed the pledge to the American people, not to me, as President Obama and Harry Reid sometimes say, but they promised the American people they would reform government. That's how we got the sequester. That's how we got a $2.5 trillion spending drop from what Obama planned to spend. Spending by the federal government dropped from 24% to 20% because the Republicans said taxes are off the table. If you put taxes on the table, as Bush's dad did in 1990, he got no spending cuts. None, none, none. It was all tax increases. The idea you can put tax increases on the table and along with spending cuts, they cheated Reagan, they cheated Bush. Tax increases are what politicians do instead of reforming government. It's wise for elected officials, if they're willing to keep that word, to say, I'm going to reform government, not raise taxes. I hope at some point candidate Bush will do that. He's started to move in that direction. He said he'd, be in favor of some sort of contract, which is a promise to the American people. That's a good step forward.
Yeah, Grover, what I think in the turn of the 20th century, I think government spending was like 7% of GDP or something. So it grows to 20 or 18 to 20. It was at 24, as you point out. I can see what you're saying. Unless we want to turn into a 50% GDP style Europe, it's not 50 over there, but it's obviously higher than we have here. Okay. So you should work within. There should be an upper limit on what you're able to say. But let's say Jeb decided I'm going to 0 on the corporate tax rate, but I'm going to make that up somewhere else. Mm-hmm. Does that count as raising taxes?
Oh, no, the pledge is very clear. I created the pledge. Ronald Reagan asked me to run Americans for Tax Reform, which he actually organized. And the goal was to pass the 1986 bill. The pledge was designed to make it possible to pass a revenue-neutral tax reform, because without the pledge, no one trusted that the deal would be revenue-neutral.
Grover,
revenue-neutral is fine.
They told me I had to wrap. I mean, you had like 2 minutes. I don't understand. But just last but not least, the American public has gotten, I don't know whether it's social media or what, but we seem to go back and forth every 2 years on which path we should take. So you said that the public has elected, a House and Senate Republican. I'm not sure what 2016 is ready to bring, as fickle as things are. Do you think the Republicans ought to run someone who has signed your pledge, or do they need to, the notion is that we don't need people that can talk to the choir. We need people who can bring in converts. So maybe we don't need people that talk to your base. Maybe we need someone who can bring in the independents. Who should the Republicans run in?
Sure. Well, you should run somebody who speaks on principle, which brings in the Republican vote, but speaks in a way that non-aligned and independent people can understand. The pledge doesn't win Republican votes. The Republicans are already going to vote for the Republican. The pledge wins independent votes because they don't trust the Republicans unless they see it in writing. That's why you put in writing to the American people, to independents, hey, I'm not going to raise your taxes. That's how you win.
Okay. All right, good. So revenue neutral is okay with you, and I think we should do something like that. I don't know. We should make it
and lower is even better.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, good. All right. 18 is good. I don't see why we can't live with 18%. We used to. Anyway, thank you.
17.